Board of Finance. The mayor should be calling in and joining remotely for the first part of this meeting. Councilor McGee can't make it until 5:30, and I expect City Council President Paul any moment. The first item on the agenda is the agenda with one minor change, and that is to item 4.5. The recommended action should read accept the communication and put it on file. And with that change, is there anyone who make the motion on the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Chang. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Barlow, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak? I will say there are no members of the public appearing. I did get a email from former Councilor Busher related to the investment policy statement. And she had the very useful suggestion that, although we'll talk more about it later, one of the additions was adding the roles and responsibilities. She thought a visual graphic could be helpful. So we are working on that with our colleagues at Fiducia. Obviously, that was not ready in one day, but I am recognizing that comment, and that is something we are addressing. And with that, I'm going to close public forum and move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
To adopt the consent agenda and take the actions in.
Excellent. Is there a second? Thank you, Councilor Chang. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries unanimously, bringing us to our first deliberative item, which is an exciting airport item with the cool name Project Next. Larry and Nick, why don't you guys tell us about that?
Excellent. So we've been before you before for this particular project and this particular contract. This is taking our existing contract with Jacobs Engineering, who is now fully engaged with design Project Next, our North Replacement project, on the wing of the concourse. This is a large increase from what you've seen in the past, and the past from $1 million, just over $1 million, which brought us to a 30% design. Our original request stopped at that $1 million for Jacob, so that we can get there and put this out to bid as a construction manager at risk project. We have now since gone out to bid. We've scored and selected a contractor as part of the construction manager at risk team to help finish the design with Jacobs Engineering, and that's with Engelberth Construction. This particular request tonight is to take our Jacobs contract from $1 million to the full contract amount, which will bring us to the 100% design and of course into the construction itself. The project next is a culmination of renovations to North Terminal Wing, new jet bridges, North Concourse replacement, and frankly more flexible, and Murray Friedman is here as well, more flexible opportunities for aircraft parking and a much better flow from a passenger experience perspective. Funding, this is incorporated in our FY24 budget. This will continue to be incorporated in our capital plan for the ineligible and non-federally funded portions of the project, as well as with our passenger facility charge program. However, 90% of this project, inclusive of this contract, is an FAA funded grant.
The only thing I have to add is typically we see engineering through construction at 18 to 25%, where the government GSA sees 43%. This is in the 12% range, so we worked hard to get it there so we can move this project forward.
Excellent. Any questions, or is the board ready to make a motion?
I will move the recommended action on civic.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Jen. Any further discussion or questions? Yes, Councilor Barba.
Yes, I just was wondering about, is this project, would you consider to be on schedule right now, or ahead of schedule, or? And when would you anticipate that we might actually see some of the construction work commence?
Yeah, really, really good questions. I would say this is very much ahead of schedule. Originally, we were kind of headed down the route of a typical design bid build concept. But because of the costs of construction, we really wanted to bring a contractor sooner rather than later to help limit the costs and limit some of the scope creep that happens during really after design and into a construction project. So that's why both Jacobs and Engelberth are now essentially on site finishing this design work so that we can get shovels in the ground. As soon as we get a grant, we're expecting a full guaranteed price. We're going to be back before the board and council with an Engelberth contract for the guaranteed maximum price, most likely towards the end of this year, beginning part of the year next. And very soon after that, expecting a grant and shovels in the ground by summer, possibly late summer of 2024. If we went design bid build, we would be talking about a construction project in 2025. So we are in my world, we're definitely ahead of schedule on bringing to a full construction project. Yeah, I think I answered. Thank you. Yes.
Any other questions for the airport team? All right, well, we have a first and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed, please say nay. And the motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Item 4.2, we have Ashley Parker from the CT team to talk about what's our fairly standard reimbursement for both TIF districts for our related costs for last year. Why don't you tell us about all the excitement that entails, Ashley?
Sure thing. Yes, this is a historical annual thing that we have been doing. We've been doing for a long time now to reimburse annual related costs for the two downtown and downtown and waterfront districts. This is for all costs associated with personnel and some of the professional consultant costs that are related to any administrative work that we have done in the TIF district. So in the memo tonight, you'll see it broken down by TIF district, department, and I think it's professional consultants is the only other line. I wanted to point out in the future, we are hoping to actually roll this into our annual budgeting process so that every year you will get the overview for the related cost budgets for both districts. And so we want to come back and do this post reimbursement every year. So I think that is the gist. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, would someone be willing to make a motion?
I am making this as indicated from civic.
Thank you, Councilor Jang. And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Barlow. Any questions or comments for Ashley? All right, as usual, it is not a lot of questions about TIF. We confuse everyone with that a little bit. But this one is pretty straightforward. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Director Pine, for being here as well. CEDO plays an important role in TIF. Item 4.3 is an update to our investment policy statement. This is for the Burlington Employees Retirement System. And I am going to turn it over to Chris Rollins, who is one of the principal advisors that we work with at Fiducient Advisors. They are the city's investment consulting firm. And as a part of our regular due diligence, they helped the board to review our policy, which had been in place since 2019 without having any changes. So you'll see in the red line version in your packet, Fiducient suggested that we add a section more clearly defining the purpose of the plan, updating the duties, and then most meaningfully, perhaps adjusting our asset allocations. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris.
Great. Thank you, Catherine. Good evening, everybody. I'm Chris Rollins, a partner and senior consultant at Fiducient Advisors and head of our public funds practice. So just by way of background, we've been consulting to public pension plans for over 30 years. We consult to about 55 municipalities in greater New England. That's across about 110 pension plans and OPEB plans. And we've been working closely with the BERS since the first quarter of 2021. One of the items before you today is the plan's investment policy statement. We believe a well-written investment policy statement serves as the blueprint for the management of the pension portfolio. And to that end, we think there are some important elements of the IPS as Catherine had outlined. That is investment objectives, assignment of responsibilities, asset allocation framework. So there's a good deal of thought and process, a judicious approach around setting asset allocation that aligns with the plan's investment return assumption, which today stands at about 7%. There's rebalancing guidelines. It's important to rebalance so that there are no surprises to the asset allocation. Selection and monitoring criteria for investment strategies, termination guidelines for investment strategies, and liquidity guidelines, we think, are all key elements of the investment policy statement. So what you see before you are really some of the changes to the corpus that we've included working closely with the BERS. As it stands before you today is a document that has been adopted or approved by the BERS and working through various channels within the town as we speak, excuse me, as a city, as we speak today. And that's where we stand in its current structure, and happy to answer any questions.
I also want to thank you, Chris. I also want to note that Mayor Moreau Weinberger is joining us. He is the phone number that is listed below. Any questions? We'll start with those of you in the room. Yes, Councilor Barlow.
Thank you. I had just two questions. I noticed that the asset allocation is sort of skewing more conservative. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say the asset allocation is along the lines of public equities and fixed income and really backs into the plan's discount rate. So the plan has an investment return assumption, which has trended lower over time. So as we speak with the new fiscal year 23-24, that discount rate is 7%. So when we run our asset allocation modeling, we run our capital market assumptions each year to ensure that we have what I would call a high probability of hitting that return assumption on an annualized basis over time. So I think what I would call is somewhat of a plain vanilla conservative allocation, passively managed equity strategies, and actively managed fixed income allocations, high quality fixed income.
Okay, thank you. And my other question, I looked for it in the policy statement, but I couldn't find it. So maybe you could add some, you could address the question I have around how policy that the council might make to restrict investments, say in the military, industrial complex, or in the fossil fuel industry, how that would be incorporated into a policy statement.
Yeah, that's a great point, or a good question. So you'll see that the IPS is absent such language because the BRRS has not carried out any of those directives. I know there's been discussion with the council, particularly around fossil fuel divestment. So we were tasked with responding to an inquiry from council with regard to exposure to fossil fuel, which was less than 4% of the portfolio. But I think given fiduciary concerns, given that these assets are tethered to liabilities and beneficiaries, the BRRS has not gone down the path of divestment. But I do think it's open dialogue and communication that could be had outside of the IPS, but carrying out their duties today, absent those type of restrictions along the lines of ESG or divestment. The IPS is silent at this time.
Okay, thank you very much.
I hope that helpful. Yep.
Yes, it was.
Any other questions in the Busher room?
Yes,
Yes, Councilor Jang.
I think thank you for the memo. It seems that you've written it, and was just wondering if the retirement board had access to this. And also, what are their thoughts?
Yes, the memo should have said that, but the board has thoroughly considered it. We worked with Haley McClenahan, who's our attorney, in reviewing it, and they unanimously supported it. And frankly, it's just been a little bit of my having things backed up. Otherwise, we would have gotten this to you in September. But the board, several people said they might attend tonight. I know how schedules are, but everyone unanimously was very supportive of making these changes.
And does that also include unions or they not?
Yes, so the way that the board is structured is that we have a representative from the police union, from the fire union, and then also from AFSCME, IBEW, at least, and then there might be a general. And so all of them were able to weigh in on it and be a part of this dialogue.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Mayor, is there anything you would like to ask or comment on?
Thanks, Catherine. And I do want to thank the BRRS board and our consultants for the work on this. I would say this is the most, significant revision to the policy statement since the major pension reform effort that we made about 10 years ago now. And I think it's, I spent a fair amount of time with Catherine reviewing what the changes were and feel comfortable with all the changes. I think they're helpful. I also appreciate that the plan from the BRRS board is to continually check in on this about once a year, check in on the allocation assumptions. I think since this might be one of the last times that we kind of review this together, I will say I think we've made significant progress over that last decade with the pension. Maybe not as much progress as we were hopeful for when we made the changes a decade ago, but I do think, particularly with the revision of the rate of return assumptions and the disciplined incremental change to get down to a lower rate of assumption, which we've now, I guess I feel a high degree of optimism now that the 7% assumption that that the plan is based off of is now realistic, consistent with this asset allocation mix. I do think it's probably, I do think it's wise to continue to look at the asset allocation and understand, the relationship between this and the tax increases that need to be made over time to support this investment. I think it's a healthy thing to keep reviewing. But I am comfortable where it's at, and I think people should feel good that we have come quite a ways in making a plan that is realistic and should be successful going forward.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Are there any other comments, or are we ready for a motion?
I will move the recommended action to the clerk.
Thank you, Councilor Barlow. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Jang. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And all those opposed, please say nay. And the motion carries unanimously. Is there a problem, Acting City Attorney Pellerin, if we were to move to item 4.5 due to the fact that the BCA employee who's presenting 4.4 is not here yet and is on her way?
We already set the agenda.
We already set the agenda. The agenda, however, is going to be the person who's presenting 4.5 is also not here. So I'm really just killing time. So nothing's gonna happen on that item. We can hold it and then make something officially not happen in a minute. I will just inform you of that. And as we're waiting for Sarah, I will quickly introduce the solar eclipse budget item, because here she is with Doreen, and I have been a piece of this. It's okay, you're not the only one. I was just killing a little bit of time for your walk over here.
Well,
And then I
thank
was like, well, I was part of the committee, I could start talking.
kind of know what's going on. We apologize. You were just next door.
Yeah, no worries, you were able to run over very quickly. So, we are just getting to your item on the agenda, and we were just saying how excited we were for the eclipse. So,
What a natural phenomenon.
yes,
Yes.
why don't you give us a brief overview?
Well, given that we had to assign that to one of our employees, we'll do our best. I don't know where Zach is, and we do have a presentation for you tonight,
yes.
because I thought it was really important that you all saw everything that we are taking out into the community. And we gave you at PAC a little bit of a, and it was really an update, but it was a real understanding of where we were at the time. And since that time, Mayor Weinberger has brought together the many members of the business community to learn about this event, to understand its critical nature to Burlington, to understand that the city of Burlington will take major responsibility for the public safety components of this, but that when we look at the additional elements, how we welcome people to the community, how the community expresses its uniqueness, and we bring out the creative parts of who we are, and also take care of people when they're here. Because as you know, the hotels have required a minimum of a 2-night stay. So we have people who are gonna be here. Doesn't matter whether it's snowing or it's 90 degrees, they're gonna be here. And we have to be prepared for that. And we always try to put our best foot forward. So what can we do? The mayor has requested that we take care of this in 2 different ways. That first, the city take responsibility for the public safety piece, but that the city works very carefully with the private sector for all the other components of cultural engagement and entertainment, and how do we learn about this place? And also to the business corporate community, how do they best show who they are so that the people visiting this community want to return? So we're preparing tonight for you a budget that is a breakdown of a Part A, Part B budget. Part A is everything that the city really needs to do, just knowing how many people are visiting this community. And we want to provide both from a public safety perspective as well as health, as well as well-being, what that means and encompasses. And then the Part B budget is really sort of, how do you show this community at its best? And I think I said this at the PAC meeting, so please, if I'm repeating, I know there's a new group for tonight, that what our model is that the city can't do everything. We have to bring the larger community together with all of our partners and highlight and amplify what they do best and what they can add to this equation, so that collectively we give the best experience, and also we understand that our partners will allow us to use the city as a totality, so that UVM will keep many students as they can on the campus, that the parks and streets in the downtown and different communities will be used. And then that we take advantage of the few spaces that we will actually program during that time. So this is, I would say, from every way of looking at this, it is a modest proposal. And I really want everyone to understand that, because I think it's critical that this is kind of like our bare bones. How do you go out there and do your best with the minimal amount of risk and also the greatest potential for return? So with that said, are you able to?
Yes, I did log in.
Great, thank you. Laura, would you like to add anything to that? Because you've been so engaged.
Thank you, Doreen. I'm hoping we're gonna be able to go through the PowerPoint, because I think that lays it out clearly.
It really does, and I'm sure Sarah's like 1 minute behind here with her
I am.
Halloween nails already. We have been on the cusp. I do want to say how critical tonight is in this vote, because we've been on the cusp of needing to pull the trigger on this. That's a bad word. We have needed to get permission to go forward so that we can ensure that we do the best job. And the clock has been ticking since the summer, when we were hoping to, move this forward and get approval. So we're here with you tonight, and it goes to City Council next week, and then ride to the horizon.
I think this says a lot of what Doreen just summarized, but adds a little more detail and graphic flair to it. And but I think this is the same PowerPoint that we have given to a number of community leaders in a request for private funding this as well. So do you want to take it over?
Yeah,
Sarah,
Sarah and I will
when
go
we get
back
to
and forth on this here.
when we get to the money, I'll talk about this.
Yay, Moreau. So we're going to experience a total solar eclipse. It is a rare phenomenon. The last one was in 1932. The next one is going to be in 2106. And before you can see the timing of this, it's not a long time, but it's a critical time in terms of how the city is prepared to manage the various populations that are placing themselves for this experience. So you want people to be in place for the beginning of this at the partial eclipse. And then when you actually get to the moment, it is a rare natural phenomenon. And so you're hoping, you don't want entertainment at that time. You want people to experience the silence, because Zach loves to tell the story. He's the best trained on our staff, but nocturnal animals come out and the winds have a different sound, and the experience is a very special thing. So we actually, during this time, will just have everything in place to care for people, but there will be no entertainment. We are considering, if funding is available, to have somebody who will narrate through this, and we've had a number of ideas and have been in touch with 2 or 3 within the affordable range of bringing guests to Burlington. But you can sort of see the time frame is very short. And then when you get to the end of this, which is, 4:30 in the afternoon, one of the things that we have to be very thoughtful about is making sure that everyone who has come into Burlington is not trying to leave Burlington at the same time. And the other thing is that we have partners who are working with all the restaurants, hotels, entertainment centers, et cetera, that can care for people, so that there is not this grand exodus, but that they get to continue to experience Burlington as a great place. The next slide is the Cosmic Super Bowl. That was Mayor Hendricks from Hopkinsville, Kentucky. And that was their solar eclipse in 2017. Very small city, and the experience of this kind of really set them apart in the country, and they had no idea that it was going to be as popular and that their volume of visitors was going to increase to the degree that it did. NASA, who has a representative here at the University of Vermont, she serves the entire state of Vermont, and she's a great partner. They use a factor of 3 times your daily population. It's been fairly good. Zach, I've got your script and I'm running. Number of visitors, and in some places it has gone beyond those that factor, and in some cases, fallen pretty closely to it, but in no case does it, is it significantly smaller. So the estimates for Burlington are from 50 to 150,000 visitors in addition to our population. You'll see later on that we are very careful in understanding both how we take care of our citizens and how we take care of our visiting population, both critical to the success for Burlington. So Zach, we're going out. What other cities have experienced?
Sure, thank you. Sorry to just be strolling in here. So we did some research into the last total solar eclipse that hit this country, which was in 2017. We looked primarily at cities that were about our size. So obviously this happens in much larger cities, and they have their own challenges, but we're looking for cities roughly about our same size. You can see there's across the map here, but this headline was in USA Today, coast to coast ka-ching. So they're really focusing on the eclipse tourism, which is a real thing, bringing money to communities across the country, really, from Oregon to South Carolina. We checked in, you already saw that quote about the Cosmic Super Bowl, but Hopkinton, Kentucky, notably had about 30,800 people, and they welcomed over 100,000 visitors. And you can see the numbers really range in here. There's a tiny down at the bottom there, tiny Glendale, Wyoming has a population of 200. Somehow they welcomed 70,000 and 90,000 people, which must have been insane. And there are
They have a lot of camping.
yeah,
No
lots of
power,
open space.
a lot of camping.
Lots of open space. I love their quote that they got their name out there. Did that? Oh, you're driving.
She's driving.
Oh, I'm not.
Sorry,
That's
that was just
okay.
so that you know what's coming next.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Cool. Great. So we can go to the next slide. It's great. The local buzz. A lot of news, and especially after this weekend where we had the very, very partial eclipse here, created a lot of interest in the eclipse. And I've heard just in the news people talking about April 8th, and stay tuned for April 8th, and a lot of news coming out of this weekend. But notably, the City Council, May 15th of this past spring, had a resolution that said we would celebrate this amazing and unprecedented unique event. Burlington Free Press was shortly thereafter claiming that it's going to be about 250,000 tourists to Vermont. I don't know where they got that number, but they were looking on the high side, obviously. The state launched a tourism website dedicated to the eclipse. small tour here in Vermont, announced in the summer that they were gonna have a Green Mountains of Vermont total solar eclipse, and their tour sold out really very quickly, which they don't always do, so that was notable. Hello Burlington, the Chambers of Commerce team here in the city launched their website. And then this is kind of interesting, Expedia noted that searches for Burlington hotels ranging from April 5th to April 8th of 2024 were up 4,515%, which is pretty indicative of what we think is going to happen here. And with that, rates for room nights have gone up, and those were old rates, so it could be even higher at this point.
Did I hear you're renting your house?
I know people who are renting their house.
We were just talking about.
So the city is definitely committed, and this administration committed to making sure that the real municipal angle of this is covered. We are focused on really making sure that this is a safe and enjoyable experience for visitors and for the community that already lives here, obviously. So we have plans to fund and to produce, enough amenities, including bathrooms, trash and recycling at key places, a parking system that we're still working on and has some question marks on, but a way to get people in and out of the city safely and somewhat quickly. Definitely purchasing safety glasses, Eclipse safety glasses. A lot of those were out this year, this past weekend, but we'll need many, many more. We're thinking in the number of 50,000. The state also was providing a bunch of glasses, but those are destined, we've learned, for smaller communities. Working on emergency services and planning. Much of that is ongoing and will be informed by some of the decisions that we're making here in the next couple of weeks. Looking at building additional RV parking here in the city. So Perkins Pier and possibly on Pine Street. People do travel by RV for these events, and giving them a place to go. Also a revenue opportunity for us. Looking at travel control, it is hard. It's a 3-day period, but we'd be really focused on that Monday. But again, similar to some July 3rd tactics, but looking at how to get the cars in and out into the interstate quickly. The school district has internally at least announced that they plan to make that a half day. I think that's going to be announced here pretty soon. And road projects both in Burlington and across the state are expected to not be happening on April 8th because of the many visitors are coming here. We think that while we are going to provide all those great services, this is a chance to also really showcase Vermont and Burlington in specific, and all this amazing community that we have here. Hopefully, all these people are coming here for this eclipse, but they'll realize it's a great place to be and come back or stay longer or
have a great time even if it's snowing.
Exactly, even on April 8th. So we want to encourage visitors to return to Burlington. We want to do that by showcasing the arts, showcasing the businesses, showcasing what we have here in Burlington that makes this place special. We also know this is a place to create revenue for businesses and through the city and for the city at large through sales tax and rooms and meals tax, parking and camping fees. So it's really our chance to go beyond just the municipal bathrooms and trash and really showcase the city to our visitors. So we have set about imagining a better event, a bigger event, and I will say we're not unique in this. There's a whole website of what states on this whole path of totality are doing. So most cities are making the most of it and trying to produce some kind of entertainment or some kind of cultural happening that it relates to the eclipse. So we are in discussions with NASA State Program Administrator, who's housed up at UVM, about collaborating with their programming that they're going to do, bringing in keynote speakers. They perhaps could give a speech up at UVM and then come to Contois and give a speech in the evening, focused on the education and the science of it. We are working closely with ECHO. They just did a small event for this Saturday's eclipse, but this will be a much bigger event. ECHO has a good relationship with the Vermont Astrological Society. And they would astronomical, we're supposed to fix that. Astronomical Society, I get these two. We are in astronomy, not astrology.
Not doing tarot card readings or anything.
So actually, that might be a good money maker to invite all of our, tarot card readers to be with us.
Well, I'm sure the Astrological Society would love to get involved, but we are going to work on astronomy side of that. So we would have educational tents at in some of our venues, some of our preferred viewing sites. There's also a live tracking telescope that could present a feed that we could broadcast on the video wall or on online as well of the picture of the actual eclipse happening. And then we look to this really being a weekend event because it happens on a Monday. People are gonna wanna be here, probably Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Most hotels are requiring a 2-night stay. So, we would want to have other programming starting that, on Friday. And, those would be, the good thing about that, honestly, is we can do those inside. It is April, so the weather could be, touchy. But if we do, purposeful programming that's Eclipse related and appropriate on that Friday, Saturday, Sunday indoors, one, it gives us some touch points with this visiting community. We can distribute glasses, we can distribute information, try and educate people about how Monday's gonna go. And also we can sell tickets and make some money in that way. And we also can really take that chance to showcase whether it's music performance or the VSO or projection like you see up there in the Unitarian Church last highlight. We can really kind of showcase in a different way what we have here in Burlington. That's a little bit of a smaller scale and not the huge scale that Monday.
Right.
Yeah. In this, speaking more to Monday, we would direct attendees to some key viewing locations, which are not solidified, but at the moment include Battery Park, Waterfront Park, Perkins Pier, Oakledge Park in the south end, City Hall Park right here in downtown, and Roosevelt Park in the old north end. We purposely want to spread people out. We can only fit so many people in, say, Waterfront Park, or anywhere along the waterfront. So by having things in Roosevelt Park, we could really kind of address the old North End population. Maybe they would want to stay in the old North End and celebrate with their own community. Same with Oakledge, could, direct people down Flint Avenue and get them to Oakledge Park, where maybe the tourists would be more downtown and Battery and Waterfront Park. It's hard to say, obviously, but it's our thought that people are going to want to be together and in a key viewing spot where they can actually see this eclipse in a really great way. So,
and I think what we've heard and have discussed is working with the MPAs and local organizations to work more uber local in communities so that geographically we cover the whole city and we allow people to do the things that bring joy and gathering reasons in different parts of the city. I think that's a critical piece of this plan. So I want to emphasize that this is not here right now, but it is absolutely key, I think, to our success. Like, we want to make sure people don't get stuck and can't get to a place, but boy, if you're in your neighborhood and in the new North End and you're out, like, why wouldn't you want to just stay there? Especially if there's, a DJ playing or a food truck or, hula hoop. Or keep the snow off your head. No,
that's true.
But whatever it is, I mean, I think after we are able to figure out the funding mechanism for this, we can get really down into sort of how do we make this successful, first and foremost for our citizens, and then secondarily for our visitors.
One key, a few more things about that. One key thing, and you can see the live narration up there. One thing that we really want to do is have a scientist who understands what this is happening. There are different stages to an eclipse, provide live narration, and that we would then stream that to all of our sites. So no matter where you are, you can hear this narration of what's actually happening and what we're witnessing. There's also a point in that when it does reach totality where you can take off your glasses and look at it with your naked eye, because most of the sun is covered up at that time. So having both a safety aspect and a scientific educational aspect to that. We also would be interested in activating food trucks a little bit earlier and helping them do that. And then very importantly, we work with Burlington Workforce and Development to really talk to businesses and prep them for the large number of people that are going to be in town and to be open on a Monday, for instance. It is going to be a large event, not in the normal kind of tourism season. So helping them prep for that and be ready and to kind of amplify what they're doing for sure. With that amplification on the next slide, we do have a lot of what we are calling partners right now. I will say this list is not complete, and also it doesn't mean we've sat down and talked to every one of these people, but each one of these people, every one of those businesses or organizations has the ability to do something on the event, on the eclipse, and we would then amplify that by including it in our website, in our marketing plan. We would say, we're doing this and this, but you can go to Radio Bean and see this at 10 o'clock. You can go to the Boys and Girls Club is going to be doing this activity. You can go to Switchback or Foam and really help take this moment to support our local economy and local businesses by us not doing it all, by helping us tie it all together and present a complete package of options to anyone who's visiting this area. So I think it's a great angle that we can do working through Love Burlington and through the business workforce development and through BCA and our arts connections. But getting the Lane series to do something, making sure that there's something happening with VTIP and all these different places. We are talking to the BSO as well. But a lot of great really potential there that we want to see come to happen. And that is the bulk of the programming, and then we get to the money.
That's where we get to the mayor.
Awesome, and really what the board needs to kind of weigh in on and what you'll consider supporting. So hopefully this PowerPoint, the presentation from our great BCA team gives you a sense of both the opportunity and kind of responsibility that we have with this event. Dorian referenced this before. My thought has been that we could approach it like this. The city could tonight and next week commit to using reserves, unassigned fund balance to front the $235,000 of that is necessary, or commit to it. We wouldn't actually have to like spend it all up front, but we would commit to give the team the ability to move forward, knowing, you know, with a binding commitment that they would have sufficient funds to ensure the public health, safety, basic amenities budget. We would, you know, if we had to use unassigned fund balance, we would hope to recover much, potentially all of that through enhanced revenues when this event actually happens, assuming we have good weather and things are successful. But there would be some risk that does not all materialize, and that we do end up having to spend the reserve money and don't get it back. We'd have to know that. We'd have to acknowledge that up front. I have gone to a number of business leaders in town, various businesses that both will benefit from a weekend like this, and with the sort of general positive experience of Burlington, people coming here having a positive experience, and that, you know, have vested interest in there being a good experience here, and one that could lead to future successes. And said to them, asked them if they could come up with essentially the 200,000 for the event and tourism and investment budget. And we have gotten a couple commitments so far. We just really had this meeting last week when we laid this out for a number of different businesses, and I think overall the meeting went well, and there was appreciation for both the leadership today showing and the idea that there would be kind of a public-private partnership, if you will, here. I think by the time we get to next Monday, our goal is to be able to share with the council a greater level of confidence that, you know, where we are on this, and our level of confidence that we're going to make it. I would say I'm pretty optimistic that we can get to it. I mean, it's a question of how much work we all have to put into getting there, but I'm pretty confident. I'm sitting here right now, I'm pretty confident we'll get there. I'd be more ready to really be clear about that when we sit down next week. So that's our idea. That's our proposed strategic approach, if you will, to this, and hoping it's one that makes sense to my colleagues here. I think that was basically, I think that's basically it, right?
Yeah, it was really focused on sponsorship opportunities that we shared with the group that you referenced.
So, yeah, why don't we pause there?
That's Sarah Katz with a great photo. of
My
you.
son took that picture. Thank you.
Hi, President Paul, over you.
Hi, sorry to join you so late. I had a really tough time for some reason getting on Zoom. So I'm happy to make the motion that's recommended in the memo.
Thank you, President Paul. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Barlow. Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Go ahead.
I just want to thank BCA. Councilor Jeng and myself sit on PAC, have seen a couple earlier iterations of the presentation, and it's appreciate how far it's developed even from the earliest stages where it was a lot of those conceptual, it seems like there's a lot more detail that's been built in and looks good. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
I mean, I think it would be important for maybe those who are watching and those who are here to go to the facts meeting last time. I think the details about what we discussed was very good. It was captured in the minutes. From my perspective, you can go back to the slide about the money.
Yes.
To get back, oh gosh, we have the entire packet, just give me a quick
95, I
second,
believe.
but,
I think it was 95.
wow, thank
No,
you.
it was earlier than that, but somewhere. in there.
Yeah, we did start at 95, nice job.
Right there.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah. And I think, we all understand the realities we're facing right now. And we also all know that this is only for a couple of hours, right? And we also all know that whoever's coming here to be in a hotel, maybe you may not need anything from this, right? And to think about it from the perspective of those who live here. And I think the 230, there are things that I completely agree with. It is the security, the promotion, the traffic control, the bathroom rental, etc. Couple of things. But there are other things that I feel we still can go back to other businesses. City Place people, we provide all of these, the bathroom stuff. They should be able to do, they have it, it's just where to transport it, where to put it for us. We don't need to pay any money for it. The shuttles, I mean, this is not night. The buses will be running. We definitely need to do. How are we going to do that, right? And I think there are existing stuff from the city owns, like buses and stuff like that. How do we utilize all of it to not put any type of funding into it? I mean, the realities are not the same as it used to be. Putting 235,000 to preserve, I would want to see you guys please consider the half of it. This is a commitment from the city, and how do you work around it to make it happen? That's and I'm impressed by what you did to raise 204,000.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yes, but I think the thinking is beautiful. The thinking is beautiful. How do we provide this great event for the resident, for our tourists, and make sure everybody's safe? It's less money. That needs more thinking, and we still have time. But voting on the amendment, on the motion in front of us, I don't feel comfortable. And I think this item can come back, right? Maybe at our next meeting to better discuss, and then you may have more information too about we have all these commitments. What else is possible?
Can I respond?
Yeah.
Some of these things, if we don't pull the plug and say we're doing them, we're gonna be in trouble. There's only so many porta potties in Chittenden County. There are other cities in the state that are in the path of the Eclipse, and they are now beginning to think of it. In fact, St. Albans has already spent $100,000 towards the Eclipse, towards planning for their community. And that includes no entertainment. That's just plain public safety, St. Albans. So, I think this is bare bones. I think what I take from you, Councilor Zhang, is that we should do our best to bring in all those partners to as much as possible underwrite this to the best of our ability, which is a strong best. But we need the permission now to go forward. And if you look at that second part of the budget, the event, all we're saying is we're getting approval to spend it if we raise it.
Yes.
If it comes from the private sector, then we will do these additional things for event and tourism and community at large. But the first part of that budget, that is like bare bonedest Burlington being able to care for itself. Even if you have public buses running, for example, how do you bring thousands of people from UVM at a parking lot at the field house down to Burlington and get them safely back? Like, that's an additional service. The current service we have doesn't do that. So this is adding into that. This budget looks at everything we already do and already spend, and these are additional charges. So I don't wanna underplay that this has any, there's no meat, there's just meat on the bone, there's no fat. Uh-oh, I got into a bad metaphor. You know what I'm saying? It's just, and I think maybe our esteemed financial advisor, I all of a sudden forgot your title, could explain what we already look to as the way that through rooms and meals and other ways that with these number of people in town, we can already expect to find additional revenues that will support some of that public safety at the end of the day.
Yes, I think that's a good question, right? But I think also let's maybe keep that in mind in terms of if the fundraising doesn't come, if it rains, if all of our calculation did not go as expected, right? But those who already paid the room and meal, how much extra money the city would be getting, I think it would be good to know, to understand. But at the same time, I think as part of your plan, you talk about UVM and you pushing for UVM to stay there and to not come here. We also do now have like bike infrastructure. People can bike from places to places, and it's going to be even bit faster for them because there will be a lot of people. I'm not saying no. I'm saying this is great and I love it, right? But let's also go incrementally and adjust as we move forward. But from my perspective, 235,000 in reserve for just a couple hours of, is a little bit too much. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Jang. I understand the perspective, and certainly I think your point that maybe some of what's in the top could be provided in kind. The city police team's definitely on the list and got a request here, and if they want to, and they've seen the whole budget, so if they think they can best make their gift, for example, by using their equipment as opposed to the cash that we've talked about, that would be definitely a conversation we'd be open to with them, and somewhat fungible. If somehow people really wanted to help us on the top side, that we would accept that. I can understand the desire to keep working on this before giving the full commitment. I'm persuaded by the BCA team that now, events like this cannot be planned overnight. We've been putting them through their paces. As was mentioned, they've gone to PAC committees, talked about this for some time. The plan has evolved. It's taken, this proposal went through several revisions before I was ready to bring it forward and have this discussion. So I think we're really at the point now where we need to green light this. Doesn't mean there will still be refinements, new ideas that come up from here can still be pursued. There's still a lot of work to be done. I mean, there's all the work to be done from here. But I think we're going to be in trouble if we don't give them the green light to move forward now. And it really is one of those situations where there's risks to not acting too. If we don't act, we don't pull this off right, we screw something up in terms of basic public health, public safety. When these events happen, we could end up having a far bigger financial problem for the city through something going wrong later. So respect where you're coming from, and I hope maybe this has been persuasive for you and you might be able to green light it at this point, or maybe if this is going forward to the full council next week, maybe we can continue to talk and still get your support when it goes to full council I am hoping we can vote this out tonight, and if there are no other comments, I think I will go, because we still have a couple more items after this,
We have
right?
one more item, yeah.
So, is there any other burning comments on this, or can we go to a vote and keep working to try to get Councilor Jang's support over the next week?
Very quick one, and I think at the last PAC meeting, I requested for you guys every month to come to PAC to discuss it. And, you know, we'll keep an eye, we'll support it.
We'll be there. One of us will definitely always be there.
Make sure that councilors get the glasses with them.
First ones, yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I think sufficient discussion. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? We lose, I think
We lost President Paul.
we lost President Paul, so vote carries by, sorry, did you?
Yeah.
You voted with us. Thank you, Councilor Jang. I appreciate it. But I understand we got some work to do still, and we'll be getting more information over the next week. With that, let's go to the last item, which is the FY 25 operating budget for the Winooski Valley Park District. Did we make the change here on the recommended action? I thought-
We did,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And my question is, do we have, someone from the Winooski Valley Park District who is here? And it appears we may have gotten our wires crossed. I asked Nick Warner to, come and just be available to answer questions. He is not. We can invite him back if you wish. Otherwise, this is a pretty straightforward request. This is a request for an item that appears every year in our regional programs budget. If you decide you have questions, it's an FY 25 request, so we have plenty of time. I just wanted to send it to you as soon as I got it. But if there's anything we need to do, if someone just wanted to accept the communication and put it on file, that is our new motion.
Go ahead, Councilor Barlow.
I did have questions.
Okay.
Yes,
But perhaps we could just forward questions to.
yes, why
Why
don't
don't we
you
do that?
email
Yeah.
them to me?
And we have time.
and- Yeah, I can send them on to Nick, and then if it turns out Karen's back, that you would like to have him come again, there's plenty of time to schedule that. If we can do it over email, we'll do it that way.
Or if they're more for my own information
Great.
about Winooski Valley Park District and its relationship to the municipalities that support it.
Excellent.
Great, and this is really something this is a request for the upcoming budget year. We have until June to fully act on this, so we have plenty of time for that email exchange.
Yep.
President Paul.
Hi, I'm not really sure what's going on with Zoom. I'm just having a difficult time. I would like to at least have voted yes on the other item, if it's possible to, if the city attorney allows that.
You were present, yeah, we can cast that vote.
Okay.
Great, we'll make sure that the record shows that you both made the motion and supported it, so thank you, President Paul. And it was unanimous. I don't know if you heard after the conversation with Councilor Jang, it was a unanimous vote.
Okay.
So that's good.
Great. Thanks.
On this one, I don't think we have a motion yet, do we?
We do not, we are looking for a motion to accept the communication and.
Or
put it
would you
on
like to
file.
postpone this
No,
until
I'm
we
happy to
have?
make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Barlow. Is there a second?
Yep, second.
Thank you, Councilor Jang. But I do want to just be clear, if you'll get an email exchange going, if you do feel need to come back and discuss it, please let me know. We'll let Catherine know, and we'll do that. If there's no further discussion, we'll go, Councilor Jang, sorry.
Questions. And was
Sorry.
just wondering if we can identify what standing committee? where they can go and have this discussion further with the city council, CBLR, council. They could be invited there to talk about this further, I think, as part of the request. Yeah, and also accepting the communication, placing it on file, doesn't necessarily mean that we accept to fund.
Correct.
That's right. It
They'd
just
have to come
means,
back.
yeah, we will have to come back and we'll do that as part of the budget process. This just means we have received it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I was actually just at the Winooski Valley Park District last week with Nick Warner. They just celebrated their 50th anniversary. So they just, striking milestone, and it is an interesting entity that has this sort of inter-municipal responsibility, works with 8 different municipalities, I believe, and is responsible really for quite a bit of land. So great, glad to have a little discussion now, and if there are more questions later, we'll have more. So with that, all those in favor of accepting the communication and placing it on file, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That concludes our deliberative agenda. There's no objection. Given that, we are adjourned at 6:10 p.m. We'll see everybody next Monday. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.